Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express. India has been facing multiple cases of cybercrime for a long time now. But things got really bad for the state of Tamil Nadu recently when the Labour Department here fell for a data breach. Our reporter, Nirupama Vishwanathan, has filed a story on it on April 28th. Today she has joined us to explain the case and tell us what are the implications of it. So Nirupama, first of all, welcome. Tell us, where did it all start?
So we did get information across multiple departments because multiple departments were involved that there was a large-scale data breach, and then we tried to access the FIR, which made it very clear that there were two breaches, once in May of 2024 and the other one in November 2024. One was by an Estonian group of hackers, and the other one is by a hacking forum that's called the English Dark Web Hacking Forum. So the FIR makes that clear, and the FIR also goes on to talk about how multiple data transactions were made, and data was retrieved through multiple HTTP requests from the server. So that's how we found out.
So both of these two organizations, are they India based or are they foreign organizations?
They seem to be foreign organizations, at least from what they're claiming by themselves.
All right. And when exactly did the department get to know about it?
They did know that there was a compromise. I think they also knew in May when the first attack happened. Obviously, they did know that something was wrong, and then the data was compromised. But the FIR for some reason was filed only after the second time that there was an attack, that there was a cyber attack, and it was only, I think, on November 14th, a couple of days, 2-3 days after the second attack, that they actually went and filed a complaint based on which FIR was registered.
And how serious exactly are these attacks? Like, what can be the implications of it?
Yeah, so as we say in the story, so there are two databases. One is of business owners or shopkeepers or employers who employ laborers under them, and they have registered with the department. So one database has their information, their personal details, the employer's personal details. I mean, their
personal details as in?
Their Aadhaar, their PAN, their names, their phone numbers and their addresses and those sort of details also, and some amount of details also belonging to the employees. And the other database, if you look at it, it's the interstate migrant workers database. So that also had even more sensitive information, which included their bank accounts. So the seriousness of this lies because they don't know that they could have been possibly exposed to this data breach. It makes them vulnerable to financial fraud, and this is a vulnerable section who might not be as exposed to the dangers of cybercrime as probably a lot of us are. So it's considering they do already have information about them, the data that they already have, so it's probably easier to to scam them with the data that they have.
So you're talking about this data being used to scam the people.
Yeah, we're looking at possibilities of what can be done.
So are the hackers the scammers?
No. So the hackers, they retrieve the data from the database, and that's what they do. And then so as they've claimed themselves, so they will make it available for sale on the dark web. Okay. From there, it's available for purchase to whoever wants to.
The scammers buy the data from the hackers,
looking
over the dark web.
Yeah, anyone who thinks that this information can benefit them for commercial purposes, for scamming or whatever, they can purchase it from the dark web.
How much is it sold for? How much data is going out there? What is the quantity of data which was stolen?
The quantity of data is the entire database. So
which would be around?
it'll have definitely lakhs of employers and employees. If you put them together, definitely lakhs of people. And interstate migrant workers also several lakhs of people, because they have been rigorously collecting their data ever since the COVID outbreak, right? So then they intensified data collection and they started this dedicated interstate migrants workers database, and so that will also have lakhs of data belonging to lakhs of these workers. So that's
Do we have any idea how much profit these hackers are making on it?
No. I think unless we go and probably find the data by ourselves on the dark web and see how much it's being sold for, I don't have particular information on it.
Was any of the data retrieved?
Yeah.
Which was lost?
Yeah, the data was retrieved. So that's how the state government was able to retrieve most of the data with no hassle. They did have help from the Tamil Nadu State Data Center also. So they did retrieve a lot of the data. So that was not an issue, and it was also one of the reasons where this could be kept under wraps for a longer time, because since the data was immediately retrieved, the site was no longer down, it was functional to a certain extent, so they didn't have to explain. If the data had been lost, for example, then they would have been forced to come out and say that they'd been under attack a couple of times. But that didn't happen. They were able to retrieve the data. The data per se has been retrieved. The website, the portals are now functional, so that is not an issue. But the issue is that now the data that's stolen is already there. It's out there in the open.
So it exists out there, even though it has been retrieved. It does exist out there. It can be still available on dark web. All right. And how has the government responded to it? Both the State Department, the Interstate Migrants Department portal, and the cybercrime. How have they responded to this?
Yeah, so we spoke to a couple of stakeholders, and so that's what they're saying. So they did. Some of them did notice that the site was, down for a couple of days. So when that came up, they were told that there was data loss. That data has been lost, and they're working to retrieve it, which they did in a fairly reasonably short amount of time. But they didn't know that their data was in fact exposed. So the stakeholders that we spoke to are saying that they had a right to know, because then they will take steps to generally to monitor their bank accounts on a regular basis, to just look out for suspicious activities, or if they get phone calls, just to be like on the alert. It would have helped them to sort of be on alert. So they would have appreciated a heads up from the department saying that their data is stolen, but that they didn't do. So the government treated it as a data loss. Which
you mean between the time from May to November when it was not reported?
Yeah, even this an FIR was filed, because that's the due process. They are supposed to do that. So an FIR was filed. Credits to them, but even then the stakeholders didn't know. So I think after I called these trader associations and some of them, that's when they found out, okay, so we did notice that the website was down, but we didn't know that the data was stolen. So I think after this they might probably have a conversation with officials from the department and find out more information. But up until the story, they most of them didn't know that there had been a data breach. So they were under the impression that data was lost, and then it was retrieved in a couple of days. So all is well. That's how it is.
Okay. And is cybercrime keeping an eye on the dark web to see if it's out for sale and if they can stop it somehow?
No. So we did try to speak to cybercrime, and what the police are saying is that they're still under inquiry. So they didn't give us much information on where they are at in terms of investigating the crime. So this is all we have from the police.
All right. You had a great story. I hope we will get some follow-up on it soon. Thank you for the story. Thank you for joining us.